Real transformation, ZTN Prime has rolled out a platform that finally speaks our language. Strong journalism, authentic drama, local sport, and award-winning storytelling designed for your viewer. And access is open. All you have to do is visit ztnonline.co.zw. Register at no cost. It's seamless, it's simple, and it's a smart solution. And if you are building a brand with ambition, well, your next move should be obvious. Partner with this platform that's reaching audiences at home and across the world. Connect with Blessing Mandaba on 0773 107 561 for strategic advertising opportunities. ZTN, where Zimbabwe's voice is going global. Be part of this media revolution. Not all addictions smell like whiskey. Some are hiding in your phone, some are hidden in a browser, and some are even hidden within the bedroom. Today we're touching a topic that sits in the dark but is breaking many marriages in broad daylight. We want to talk about something that is usually taboo to talk about, and yet we want to do it shame-free, looking at the science. You know what's interesting? A man in Harare, Bulawayo, Kweru, Lupani, Luveve, will probably say, I am fine, even when he is drowning, and not drowning in alcohol, not Mtoriro, not Tubwa, but in the silent addiction we only talk about. Late at night, when the Wi-Fi is off and the shame is creeping in. At Waterfalls, feeling single, yet she's married 15 years. Yes, her husband loves her, but he doesn't know how to stop watching what keeps him from touching her. Today we are naming that addiction that's creeping in through your Wi-Fi, your data bundle, and is hiding behind locked screens, passwords, dark curtains. We're going where most conversations don't go, and this is porn addiction, compulsive sexual behavior, and the silent wars our brothers are fighting behind locked screens and our locked hearts. Although November is coming to an end, it is Men's Month, and we've been dedicating this month, Mondays, looking into some of the pressures men are suffering. And non-substance addiction is no stranger to that discussion. Last week, we introduced the subject very generally. We had our panel coming in, helping us understand gambling, porn addiction. Why is it a silent killer? Well, today we have some heavy hitters who are going to help us understand the science behind porn addiction, so you and I can gain better insights. As you're listening in, it's possibly a 30-year-old somewhere listening in from Warrenpark in Vinona, who is gripped by this midnight monster. Akadozima phone, zima laptop, by 2 a.m. his mind is negotiating with him. And his wife might be able to tell that something is wrong, but doesn't know what it is. Joining us this morning to help us unpack and understand porn addiction, which, by the way, in our neighboring sister countries like South Africa, has gripped young people as young as 15 who are needing to get clinical help to get over the problem of porn addiction. And whilst we may not have as clear stats in our country, I will show you what our data usage does look like for our country and which sites we are said to be Googling the most, which might also point to the kind of addiction that we have. Joining us this morning in studio is no stranger to Detox, Daka. He is a social worker, head of programs coming from Batalapamwe, and he deals mainly with social reintegration of somebody who's battling addiction. Daka Magadi.
Morning, Folake. Good morning, for
Sitting right next to Daka is TK1. We'll call him TK1. He's also no stranger to our show. He's a psychologist, and he also shares with us some insights into addiction as a path that he too has walked in, having battled with addiction himself. TK1, how are you?
I'm alright, Folake. How are you? Morning to all our listeners.
TK1 comes through from Dr. Dewa, if you remember. You do remember Dr. Dewa, International Wellness Center, which is a naturopath and holistic approach to rehabilitation, and as always, we will unpack that. He doesn't come alone. In fact, we've got TK2. If you remember last week, we traveled all the way to the UK. TK2 is in Zimbabwe. He's a mental health specialist, and we are hoping to tap into his diaspora insights to understand how we can deal with porn addiction in Zimbabwe. TK2, good morning.
Good morning,
And in no way least, he is new to our panel at TK3, Takudzwa. He's also a psychologist. He's also founder of Ruveneko Foundation. He himself spends lots of his time advocating for mental health and wellness. TK3, how are you this morning?
Morning, Folake. Morning, all viewers.
TK3, I'm going to start with you. If you can help us, dive right into our discussion. What exactly is porn addiction?
Alright, thank you. Morning, all viewers. Thank you, Folake. You understand that when you talk of porn addiction, if you go to the DSM-5 criterion, right, it's not actually listed in that. It's not also listed in something that we know exactly, but also there has something on it that we can pay attention to. It looks about issues to do with intense desire and intense urge to satisfy oneself using material that we find online. Yeah. So usually this is something that goes continuously in a person, and it starts as a basic age, then it becomes something that is actually affecting one's functionality. And when it affects one's functionality, then it becomes an issue that they cannot resist, they cannot live without. And definitely it's going to interrupt almost every aspect of human's life, in the sense that one can actually fantasize while he's walking. One cannot actually sit down, watch someone passing through. They all have these recurrent thoughts about sexual activities, sexual desires, and these are uncontrollable and unstoppable when they're in until they are fed.
So we've been learning on our weekly installment around addiction how things, substances, trigger the brain's excitement path to say, keep doing this, keep repeating this activity. We love how it feels. We love what it's doing to us. Therefore, you keep taking the drug, you keep smoking, you keep drinking. When we're talking about porn addiction, what is it doing to the brain, Takudzwa?
So personally, what it does to the brain is just the same thing that it's creating a sense of false safety a person accepts. A sense of false excitement. The moment you have that exposure, you are actually stimulated and you feel very much excited. And at the same time, you would want to achieve the same thing. It's like a behavioral kind of a channel, where a behavior is learned. So once you learn it, you're teaching your mind to do the same thing all over and all over again. So it creates a loop in which every moment and every time you need to go back again to experience the same experience that you had the first time. Just like when you take a first drug today, you're high and you're happy. And tomorrow, you feel like you need the same drug again to experience the same feeling like what happened last time. So what you're going to do is you're going to find the same thing again to get you there. But the problem now becomes that it shifts almost everything to you. It shifts your perspective in terms of how you function normally as an individual. It takes you away from the people that you think you can relate with, and you're more concerned and more inclined to it. So your brain and your mind is totally focused upon self-gratification, that gratifying that deep desire that it has.
So TK1, you are also a psychologist. What does sex addiction or porn addiction do to intimacy in a relationship?
Or porn addiction to intimacy, like Takudzwa just said, it's a learned behavior. It hijacks the reward pathway of the brain and floods you with dopamine. So the excess dopamine is not the type of dopamine you have in a natural relationship, in a functional relationship. It's actually more. Yeah, I ask you to try for in a small room and I give you $100 for 1 week. That's what porn addiction does. And the normal relationship is you can try it out, you get a normal of $10, which is normal. So now you get that constant immediate gratification, which is an intense feeling, if I can say that, which is not sustainable.
Okay, all right. It is Capital 100.4 FM Harare Zap. This is our weekly installment around addiction, and we've been learning that addiction is not as always what we think it is. Somebody being complacent, someone not choosing to say no, but rather that there is something that's happening in your brain. There's something that you like, from food, sport, gambling, watching pornography, food, that triggers something in your brain that keeps saying, do it again, do it again, do it again, until you lose control. We're looking into a silent killer that has a lot of men battling subtly, quietly, in their homes, through their data bundles, through their Wi-Fi. We are speaking this morning about sex addiction or porn addiction. Now, Takudzwa Rushwaya, TK3. In terms of self-esteem, does porn addiction affect a man's self-esteem or self-esteem in general?
Yeah, from the last exposure I had, we can realize that it does at a certain point. We figure out that people tend to premeditate upon what they have seen, and they'll try at all means to initiate that in the normal type of relationships. Look at It's Enchanted, right? Look at the hardcore type of pornography material that they see, right? You realize that there is extended time, extended hours of sexual activities, right? And that person now has that in their back of their mind. And they are carrying that into a normal relationship. And the next thing is, what will you do if you cannot perform to that certain extent that you've seen later on? So figure out that it actually triggers an element of an imbalance within a person. That's when they end up using sex-enhancing drugs as a way just to cover up for their own personal esteem in terms of how long should a man last in bed and how long that person should actually perform. So definitely it erodes the esteem that the person has in a way that we might not even see it, but it does kill you slowly.
Okay. So, are there any myths in your experience, Takudzwa, that are around masculinity and porn addiction?
Yeah, I've met a few. But one that is so much rampant is the one that has been around all of us, literally as men, in terms of social media, how they portray, like how long should one last in bed. And that in itself is presented a scenario where people are tapping into areas and trying to find out means in which they can adopt in order to enhance whatever they are experiencing in. And what is they're learning from? They're learning from that porn literature. And it actually creates a gap in which how one can actually conduct whatever he needs to do. So definitely it's one of those myths that really needs to be addressed.
Yeah. But Daka, as you're listening in, is it always clear to tell when a habit of just watching pornography becomes an addiction?
Well, it depends on an individual. For some it might be clear, or for some it might be just a general habit. But to those who has it clear, it manifests in form of dysfunction, which can be poor performance when it comes to work, poor performance when it comes to even in marital issues. Even for some, it can be even academic performance. I remember interacting with a particular student during an outreach, and you shared that it goes so bad to the extent that even during lecture you can't focus. If it's a woman lecturer, then he is fantasizing while she's delivering the lecture, so he can't even follow.
Yeah.
So it becomes so difficult, and whenever he tries to read, whenever he tries to study, as long as it's a phone, it's a laptop, any device that can link him to internet, his mind just veers off to a different website, which is not the research or academic best.
Yeah.
So ideally, one can actually tell that he's no longer functioning the way he used to, which is very different for someone who hasn't had these manifestations. It's just a habit, casual, just like drugs. It starts with just regular use, becomes casual, until it becomes problematic. So it's more of a trajectory.
So TK3 also said that, I think you said there is no clear classification or definition of porn addiction as such. Is that correct?
Yeah, there is in the DSM-5 does not actually list it as part and parcel of addiction. Yes, it doesn't list it out. But if you go to OCD, you can find out that there is actually a symptomatological presentation that is listed there. But you can pick it out here and there. Yes.
So how does this then become a problem?
For it to become a problem, like Mr. Daka is actually indicated, right, that it affects one's functionality.
I mean, it not being listed under DSM-5, I think you said.
It has to do with the research around it. It's not the mostly research area if you look into it mostly. So for those disorders to be listed in the DSM-5, there is need of vast research, and so that we can come out clear parameters, then we can set it out there. But once we find people willing to invest in that and do the much needed research, I think it really can actually be posted in there.
Yeah. TK2 from the UK, you were giving us some insights last week into how the UK is much more lax in its approach to access to pornographic material by actually providing channels that people pay and subscribe. I think that's what you said, there's over 150 channels that you can get through cable for you to have this material. But in your experience as somebody who works with mental health issues, from a family perspective, what do you think porn addiction actually does to a family or even a marriage emotionally, if anything?
I can actually break it down. Not as a mental health specialist, but a recovering porn and sex addict. I didn't want to say it last week, so I said, okay, I'll drop it as a bombshell.
You did well.
Based on the question you asked me, there is a serious disconnect once you become addicted to it. The problem in the UK is what we would consider here as an addiction when you start entering into cyber sex, phone sex, masturbation, pornography, even going as far as using, professional escorts. Here you can define it as an addiction. In the UK you can't, because it is normal life. They call it's something you do in a normal sex life. It's normal for you to go to a strip club. It's normal for you to have phone sex. You can have phone sex with your partner. It's normal to use cyber sex. But on a more individual perspective, it destroys every part of your marital relationship. I got to a point where even normal sexual activity with your partner, it becomes mundane and boring. Because I'm so fixated on what I've been watching. So you want to emulate that. Now, however, my partner may not be accustomed to wanting to perform some of my fantasies. Then you start to kind of, think, she is boring. And then you don't feel like you want to spend as much time with her. That's where the disconnect starts. So it starts in marital bed, and then how you communicate becomes a problem, because already you're mentally fixated on she is already bored, so you can't communicate well. You don't spend as much time with her, because the amount of time you want to spend is on your phone.
Got you.
The moment you get to that point, that means every relationship in the family starts to break down slowly because you spend so much time on your phone.
How did you become addicted to watching porn?
Starts, like you said, starts off, and the funny thing is it didn't start as pornography straight. In the UK, they used to have a magazine with topless women. You can literally buy it in the corner shop. So you have corner shop convenience stores. Just walk in the corner shop, buy a pint of milk, and you have an entire shelf. And then you think, I'll buy one magazine. And then from there, you get tired of flipping pages and spending money. Then social media started, and Wi-Fi and the internet. Then it escalated to, rather than watching a page or flipping a page, why don't I just watch the real thing? And it started off recreational. Same way you start taking drugs. You start off as taking it as a recreational drug. And that's how it started for me. And then slowly it escalates to you actually wanting to start watching hardcore porn, or you start watching different types of porn. And then it escalates to you wanting to actually physically try it.
So one thing we've also learned about addiction is that more often than not, there's a little bit of trauma, there's a little bit of pain involved in why someone is looking for coping mechanisms that are triggering feel good or uppers and downers, as TK1 taught us. For you, when you look back, where do you think this, was there trauma involved there? Do you think porn addiction has trauma involved?
Certainly, yes. Because I come from an African background, there is a sense of shame to think you spend your time watching, explicit videos.
Hold that thought. Is there a sense of shame? You guys are men. Is there a shame in somebody who watches blue movies, or it is for men from a Zimbabwean perspective, an African perspective? I'm not ashamed. I believe this weekend. Not sure that.
There's an element of shame. There's an element of shame, to be honest, without sugarcoating anything.
That's why I watch it at night.
That's why I watch it, especially after you watch. You'll be like, no.
But however, there are small groups or small cliques of individuals who are so deep in it in such a way that they've normalized it. It's fashionable. Yeah. So, but the majority of the people, well, it's a taboo.
There's shame in that. Okay. All right. So, TK2, you were just walking us through your journey, how there was shame in there. Where was your trauma coming from, TK? Where was your pain?
Just like when TK said, after you finish, you then look at the people you hurt. I.e. for me was my father. So you see so you're not sharing the marital bed as you're supposed to. So you have that trauma where you're looking at it from the point of view where I am hurting somebody I actually love. So there is a form of trauma in the sense that I know what I'm doing, she doesn't.
Did you grow up in the UK?
I went to the UK when I was 18.
How would you describe your childhood?
Great.
Mom and dad were present?
Yes, mom and dad was present. My dad passed away 6 years ago. Very loving family.
Yeah.
My siblings, I'm the last of 7.
Okay.
So
your mommy's baby?
No. Now you want to embarrass me in front of you. Yeah. I am
my apologies.
No, don't worry. I am mommy's baby.
And when you moved to the UK, how was that for you?
Like I was saying last week, the culture shock.
Culture shock.
You see, so I grew up at a time where there's certain things like what we're discussing now, pornography. Remember when we used to watch ZTV, and if there was a movie where there was kissing, you just see black, and then it skips 5 minutes later.
Really?
If there was any,
Yeah.
yeah. If there was any topless, oh yeah, it skips. Bras, knickers, no. We grew up at
Very
that time.
conservative.
Yeah, and even swearing on national television, you'll hear the speed, or any movie that was over 18, it'll be after 10 because they know certain age groups are not watching. So that's the era I grew up.
Right.
So moving from that to
Do you think, as somebody who's recovered, who's dealing with porn, and I say dealing because we also appreciate that recovery is a journey, right? Do you believe that somebody who's battling with porn addiction is also trauma driven? Porn addiction is trauma driven. Do you think that's true?
that can be to a certain extent. I think it will probably depend on it would
Very subjective.
yeah, it's not objective, it's more subjective.